the elevator man was bringing it up to you.
Your move.
I know. Don't rush me. Have you rushed me last week?
Rushed you? You made exactly one move all night.
Please. Let me concentrate, will you? Read your wire.
If you really, truly wish you could help me, imperative you come to my house tomorrow after 3 p.m. Jennifer Vaughn.
May I see that, you really know this Vaughn kid?
Yeah. She came to see me last week.
For a second there, I thought you were needling me. You know, I was on the Vaughn case. The kid nearly drove me to a nervous breakdown.
Oh, how do you mean?
Oh, the way she tried to take over. Telling me how to look for clues. Giving out interviews that we were handling the case all wrong. Calling me up a dozen times a day with a lot of weird theories. That kid's really something. What does she want to see you about, anyway? She trying to get more publicity?
Well, she did notify the papers, but she wanted me to help her stepmother.
Oh, don't you believe it? That kid testified that the Vaughns have been battling ever since the day they got married. The butler, the governess, and even the kid admitted that they were ready to murder each other that night. Vaughn stormed upstairs and went to bed, and that's the last time anybody saw him alive, except for the murderer.
Was Mrs. Vaughn the only suspect?
The only one that made any sense. There was a gallon can of gasoline missing from the garage, as I remember it. There was mud on her slippers and traces of gasoline on the robe, and the sash was scorched. You know, it's a funny thing, Herb. The first Mrs. Vaughn died in a fire at their mountain lodge 3 years ago. She was recuperating from an illness. The coroner ruled it accidental death. But do you know who that nurse was? A woman named Dorothy Foster. She married Mr. Vaughn a year later and became the kid's stepmother.
What a terrible thing for Jennifer. Losing both parents that way.
Yeah. Although I got the impression that she didn't get much love from either one of them.
How would you like to go down and check this thing out with me tomorrow?
Oh, listen. If that's supposed to be a joke, it's not even funny.
I'm serious.
Listen, I worked my way up the hard way. I'll go back to pounding a beat before I voluntarily get involved with that kid again.
Checkmate?
Look at that. The kid even ruined my chess game. Little Jennifer Vaughn, whose criticism of the police was so outspoken at the time of their investigation into the murder of her father, claims to have come up with a new clue that will reopen the case.
I asked the editor to please wait until tonight's edition, Lieutenant. Honest.
You shouldn't have said anything to the papers, Jennifer.
I'm sorry, but it may be true about the container, Lieutenant. Look. That's where I found it. Just a corner was sticking up. My theory is, if Dorothy really was the murderer, and took the gasoline container upstairs, started the fire, then why would she come all the way back out here to bury it?
Well, kid, don't you have to take a nap or something?
I don't take naps anymore, Lieutenant. Anyhow, I'm too excited. Don't you think it might be a good idea to tear up this whole backyard?
Yeah, maybe we can get all the TV stations to carry it.
Well, couldn't it be true about the container?
Look, kid, I told you there were no prints on it.
Are you positive? I mean, shouldn't you take it down to your crime lab?
The police know their business, Jennifer. If they could do anything, they'd say so.
Let's go, Herb.
You meant well, Jennifer. But listen to me, sweetie. Searching for clues is a very unhealthy pastime for a little girl. You ought to be playing with your dolls. Now, do me a favor, will you? Forget about it.
That kid play with dolls. She probably sticks voodoo pins in them.
You could be wrong about her. What do you know about her guardians?
Well, she asked the court to let her stay with Miss Swanson. Taylor works there, and their salaries and expenses are paid out of the trust fund by the court. Why?
I don't know. I have the feeling that Swanson and Taylor have some kind of unhealthy influence on her. Okay.
How am I supposed to get any work done if I have to sit around waiting for you?
I wouldn't have asked you to come down here if it wasn't urgent.
Oh, is it that Vaughn kid?
Swanson and Taylor, mostly.
Well, did you find out what their dark, evil influence is?
No, except I'm even more sure now that it exists. I just talked to the executors of the Vaughn estate. Miss Swanson has requested permission to take Jennifer to Europe. Claims she has nightmares living in that house, wants to give her a change of environment. The executors of the Vaughn estate have agreed to finance the trip through the trust fund, and the juvenile court has given its okay. They leave next week.
You know, that's the best news I've heard in a long time. Now maybe I'll be able to concentrate on my chess game tomorrow night.
Hey, John, I'm afraid it's off. That's the reason I wanted to see you.
What?
I've got to fly up to women's prison to see Mrs. Vaughn. While I'm gone, I wonder if you might check to see if there isn't some way we could delay their trip.
Sure. But listen, if I find out anything, I'll cable you from Paris, because if that kid doesn't leave the country, I will.
Anything else?
Thanks, pal. Thanks a lot.
Something tells me that thanks isn't exactly sincere.
Well, now that you mention it, Herb, little Jennifer called in today to invite me to a formal going-away party. She said you already accepted.
I wanted the chance to talk to her again. Once they leave, they're out of your jurisdiction.
Oh, yeah.
The point is, they're holding something back. Whatever the secret is, the answer lies with the people in that house. I think the child knows. He's afraid to reveal it.
I'll tell you what, Herb. I've already begged off, but I think you'll be able to handle that kid a lot better alone. So I'll drive you over there. And I'll wait outside, just in case the kid tries to run away. Well, Herb, it looks like you had it figured these two were trying to run away.
They had a good reason, but it's not what you think.
You don't mean...
We were both wrong, John. Jennifer finally found a way to help her stepmother.